Welcome to Luxon Photography. Today I have a very special lens for you. It's the Lomography Lomogon 32mm f2.5 art lens used on the Canon camera. Here's the website from Lomography where you can find it. Here's the price, 499 euros. And this is how it looks like. Let's take a look at the images that I took. So I spent a couple of days with this lens, actually a couple of weeks. And I want to show you some of these images. So all images that I'm going to show you are taken with this lens at variety of apertures. And I want to give you a kind of review here with this video, but I want to base it on the images. This is a lens that you will not find on your regular ordinary photography store. It's a very special lens. Lomography is known to create special lenses that are very different from the usual approach. The usual approach with lenses is to get better with every lens that's created, get more to technical perfection. So the lenses often get bigger and more expensive with no vignetting and with exceptional sharpness up into the corners. Lomography goes another direction. They focus on, with this series in general, they focus on art. So this is not a lens that speaks, I'm the best perfect lens. This is a lens that speaks, I'm for the artist, I'm for art, I'm for projects where you want something different than technical perfection, where you want to capture emotion. Now some of these images you see there is a dark corner, there's a dark vignette around it. So the two aspects of this lens that make this lens very different from anyone else is it's manual focus only, and the aperture blade is here outside. So you turn here, and when you do that and you take pictures while you turn, you see this happens, that you get parts of the images, the corners, in a dark shadow, which can actually turn into really interesting results when you take pictures while you turn. So I took out this lens in a variety of scenarios. The first scenario is photograph the city. I walked around where I live. It's Bremen in the north of Germany. It is around, I think it's August or early September 2020. And so it's Corona time. So I didn't do photo shoots with other people out of respect for health, safety. So, but we will take a look at some of the portraits I did. So let's go into some of these images. Now I wanted to get a feel for the 32mm lens, what I can capture with it. And some of the colors are very strong. It's my editing style. I can totally understand when you say you don't like it. Here you see the blurry background. I focused here on this chair. We can also use another preset. Here I'm in Lightroom, for those who don't know. On the left side I have presets. In the middle I have the image. On the right side I can edit the image. I can undo everything. This is now the normal image. I can now select a preset, maybe go with Claro. I can add or change a little bit, or I use another preset and then just change small attributes, and this is kind of the final image if you like. Now I was really happy with the results that I got from this lens. I didn't expect anything. Actually, I asked Lomography, I said, hello, I'm going to Spain and I'm looking for something to bring with me to capture Spain. And they said, we have a lens here. If you like, we can send it to you. So they sent it to me, but actually when I left, it didn't arrive. So when I came back, I had the lens. So now we walk around Bremen where I live and we see what we can capture with this beautiful art lens. Now I really like the approach Lomography is doing. Kind of every other camera manufacturer is trying to go into technical perfection. And Lomography goes a different way. They go the artist way, the emotional way. They don't want to create products necessarily that are perfect on the technical aspect. It's not for the technical perfectionist, but it's for the emotional photographer, for the person who has the passion and the love for photography, and who also isn't afraid of actually using photography as a craftsmanship. So Lomography still creates film photography. They create analog cameras where you do have to handle photography as a craftsmanship, as a like something where you have to use your hands to put in the film, and you have to be precise, otherwise the film might not be incorrect, or it will light will come into the film. So there is an approach that Lomography chooses that is different from most other camera manufacturers. This is a manual focus only lens, and I was really curious to see how the people photography would look like. So because of the coronavirus, I didn't want to meet anybody, and unless I were meeting them anyway. But I thought, to test this lens, let me do something that is usually very difficult. I want to photograph myself here. How I did it was, I had a tripod where I put the Canon 6D Mark II on. I had a remote control on it. Here's the Lomogon lens, and there is the flip out screen, so I can see myself when I stand in front of the camera. So this camera stands somewhere. Then I have another tripod that I put somewhere else. I then go back to this camera, focus on the other tripod in the distance, and then when I know this tripod is sharp, I go to this tripod, throw it to the corner where nobody sees it, and then stand exactly where the tripod was. In this way I will be sharp as long as I stand where the tripod stood. Now you may think this is a very complicated way to take pictures of yourself, but actually it turned out really well. Now I was expecting much more distractions of my shooting style. I like to shoot in the moment, I like to shoot in flow, and shooting with a tripod makes everything slower. Shooting with two tripods makes everything even more slower. That's what I thought, but actually it was really a beautiful moment to enjoy. I didn't feel anything negative about it. I really enjoyed the shooting style. In some images you still see the second tripod. And what I did with this kind of shooting, the first shoot I did here with myself, I used the lens at f2.5 open aperture to see, can I use this? Do the images get sharp? Can I focus on what I want to focus on? How does the blurry background look like? And with the other shootings that we'll look in a moment, with every single shooting I did of myself, I changed the aperture I closed the aperture by one stop. So this is f2.5, and the next one I'm at, I don't know, 3.2 or 3.5, and then 5.6 or so. So with every next shooting, I change the aperture to get a feeling for the blurry background here in the beginning, and then for the sharpness in general at the last image. But you see the sharpness, I think is it gets thrown in your face how sharp this lens is. And this is a manual focus only lens, and I was expecting many more images out of focus, just because I'm not used to manual focus, especially not photographing myself. So the only way for me to see if I'm in focus is to look down to the screen, the flip out screen of the Canon 6D Mark II. There is no autofocus, and I'm really happy with the images. Now even forgetting that's a manual focus lens, forgetting about the lens at all, just looking at the images, looking through the series, just the folder here in Lightroom, I'm really happy with how these images turn out. Here you see I look not onto the camera but onto the screen on the side of the camera to see, am I in focus, is the camera in focus, and it worked really well. Now at first I thought it will be difficult to focus on myself here, but it turned out really well. I don't know, because I didn't shoot anyone else, I don't know how shooting someone else will look like or feel like. So if I photograph a couple, but I think I could handle it with pretty good focusing, as long as the couple is not moving or running quickly. Now here's the thing about the art in the name. When you turn the aperture ring, what you will find and what you will get is kind of this look where you have two images onto each other that look a little bit separated, which gives you kind of the look that when you put some 3D glasses on in the movie. Let me show you some of these images here. So depending on which way you turn the aperture, in some cases you get that strange background. So I'm in focus here, kind of. I'm sharp. You see Adidas here is pretty sharp, but the background looks really psychedelic. And I really like to play with this kind of style. Now, I totally see this lens in a art project where you want to, let's say you want to photograph some kind of flowers. You want to make a gallery, and in every single image you want to have a specific flower, and the background should be very, very like this, and the foreground should be totally in focus. Then this kind of shooting style I think would fit really, really well. Get the flower in focus and the background strangely out of focus, which looks very different from most other cameras I've ever used, or lenses. So after it, I thought let's take also some shots of landscape to see about just how the overall image quality looks like. Also to focus on, to see, can I focus actually on small things? And how does the open aperture looks like? Here, for example, we focus on just a small piece. And I'm not used to focusing manually, so this is the test to see how good can I actually do this on day one, kind of. And I think it turned out really well. Just now, after using some kind of analog and manual only stuff, I've realized that the idea of difficulty is much stronger than the reality of difficulty, which means that using these different tools is much easier than I first thought. Now here the face is not totally in focus, the camera is, and here's the remote control with which I take these pictures. And with every single of these photo shoots I did here, I did them all in a row. So it's not a different day, it's the same day. I just changed I just put on a sweater and changed the place, but all these images were taken kind of in the same area. This, with a car, it was under 5 minutes from the one place to the next place. And I wanted to test a variety of scenarios, looks, perspective, close-ups, also full body portraits. And I'm really happy with how these images turn out. I think the lens has a pretty high level of sharpness, which in most cases is something positive. I'm not a big guy on sharpness. I don't really care about sharpness in general, but I do care a lot about the look. So taking images with a lens and then looking at these images and do I like these images or not? That is something very important to me. And going through these shots, or all of these shots, I think this lens actually did a pretty good job on all areas. In the beginning with the buildings, I think we got some really nice ones. Here a little bit of landscape, nature photography, I think we got some nice shots. The images that I took of myself. Now I'm used to photographing myself with autofocus lenses and also with expensive lenses like the 85 1.2, Canon lens 50 1.2, 24 1.4. These are all expensive, high premium lenses. And this is what I'm used to. So I had a very high expectation or standard. So it's not easy to get me satisfied because I'm used to very blurry background, very great autofocus. So I didn't expect this lens to be on that level in terms of the self-portraits because of manual focus only. I thought these images probably will not look as great. But looking through these files, I think they all have something very special about them. I can't even name it. I don't know if it's 32 millimeters, if that is the case, or maybe because I used a tripod with manual focus. I can't tell. Maybe it's the light, maybe the clothing I had, maybe I was in a good vibe, but I really like the files here that I got from it. I like the look. Now what I did was I have here my preset pack on the left side, and with every single shooting I did, I used a different preset. So I get a variety of impressions from kind of one in the same day. But because I edited them in a different way, I get a feeling for what I could do with the lens and how the images will result differently depending on which preset I use. So again, I'm really happy with these results. I normally love shooting at f1.2, f1.4, and f2.5 doesn't really excite me that much, but looking at these files, I don't think that having more than f2.5 would give a better image, so to say. I'm really happy. And I didn't use f2.5 here, I used 5.6 or so. Because with the first shooting I used f2.5, and then with every other shooting I closed the aperture until f8 or f11 in the last shoot. Okay, I think you now got an idea here of the images. Let me just go into the overview so you get a better overview of the general look that you can get with this lens. I'm always a big fan of real images from real world usage. So it's really important to me to give you some images taken with people. And in this case, it's myself. And I think it speaks great to the workflow that you can actually photograph yourself using manual focus only. There are very few images that are actually out of focus. Kind of all images, most of them are really in focus and exceptionally sharp, no matter which aperture I used. Even at f2.5, the images turn out really, really sharp. And we also got some nice blurry background. We can get relatively close to the lens and get a beautiful look. It's a very different workflow, so to say, because it's manual focus. So I have to focus the camera on something, so maybe like this here. And then I stand next to it and then I am in focus. But when I now go somewhere else, I have to first set the focus again. And then with the remote control, I use a Yongnuo remote control, costs 30 euros. Probably $30, very cheap. Here I'm shooting at f7.1 or so. I don't know the numbers exactly, but here I was kind of stopped down a lot. And usually I never shoot at f7, not people photography. But I think the images turn out really, really nice. Now, I edited all these files with these presets here, and it's very easy. You can click on a preset and then the image is kind of done. Now we can do it again. This is the image straight from the camera. I can click on any preset here, maybe Claro, make it a little bit darker, and it's done. Or we can go back, maybe use a black and white, go to black and white 3, make it a little bit darker, and it's done. Or we, as we just had, we go to Gringo or Napoli, make it a little bit brighter, and then it's done. Or to Gringo. So there are many ways you can edit an image, and I'm a big fan of presets. It makes editing images super quickly. I have here 1,300 images, and editing these is pretty quickly done. I can leave the image as that, it looks already nice, or I can just click here on a preset, and you see just by going over them, here maybe Gringo again, or Malerei, you see how different the files look just with the click of a button. Or maybe in sepia, I think this also looks really nice. So this is how the editing gets done. If you ever wonder how I edited these files, I just click on a preset and then change a little bit brightness, and that's kind of it. If you are interested in editing in Lightroom here, you can find all these presets here that I use for all my editing. On my website, I put a link in the description below. It's around over 40 presets for under 40 euros. I think it's a really fair price for the speed that it will bring you. And you get the exact same looks that you find on this channel. But back to the Lomogon. Now, we're now at maybe 2/3 of the images. So let me just scroll through so we wrap this up. Now, where does this lens fit in? Now, when I go to a business photo shoot or a wedding, I need fast images. I need to be quickly. And I wouldn't necessarily bring this lens as my main lens with me. Now, the look is really great. I think the couple images turn out really great, but you have to accept the manual focus only approach. And although it works really, really nice when you go into it, that would not be my first choice for wedding, high-speed photography. When you don't know really what's going on, you have to react quickly. But for photography like I did here, like I walk around town, I go for a walk, I go on holidays, I spend time with my girlfriend, photographing my son, art projects where you want to do a photography project. You say, I'm now photographing the city, and then I offer the town these images as a for their website, for a new project, to present this area of town. You offer it to the town for free, or you sell the images to them. So for this kind of photography where you create a project out of it for yourself, I think it works really, really well. And this is exactly what the Lomography products are for. They are not on the technical side, on the perfection, although the sharpness I think is really, really great. And the overall performance I think is really great, but it's no autofocus. And so it's a niche product. It's not for everybody. You have to want to go to manual focus. You have to want to use something special. You have to want to say, you know what, I now go a different route than the average person. I now go the artist's route. And if you go the artist route, whether you want to photograph for a gallery or you just want a very different user experience, manual focus is a great way to get there. It will let you think a little bit more. It will give you or put you in a situation where you not just only click the shutter button, click, 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 and I hope you got something. You are much more, you have much more intention when you take the shot. You first have to focus, you have to compose, and then you take the shot. And this process is very different than with the autofocus lenses that you can get from kind of any lens manufacturer, unless it's Leica or Lomography. But here you see great blurry background, great image quality, really nice for portraits, photographing people. I'm really happy with the series that I got here. I mean, all the images that you see of myself, I kind of took on one day. I thought, let me see what I can do in one day photographing myself. I brought a couple of jackets. I had it all in the car. From the beginning to this point, everything was done kind of, everything in the car. And then I changed my clothes in the car. And I'm really happy with the results. This is a product, the Lomography Lomogon, that is not known to so many people. So I think it's really nice to make a video about it with many images, so you get an idea not just how the lens looks like. So you will find many reviews that show you this lens. I think it's very important when looking into a lens, how do the images look like? Can I use it for what I do? Can I use it for photographing people? Can I use it for photographing landscape? Can I use it for photographing buildings and street style? And what about focusing? Can I handle it? Can I photograph people with it? What about editing? What about blurry background? What about sharpness? I think it's always nice to look at a real image than just a text. And I hope I could deliver this with this video. Thanks to Lomography for sending me this lens after asking for it. And I'm really happy with the results. And I can recommend this to anybody who wants a different approach in photography with their usual camera, with their Canon or Nikon. This lens is available to a variety of mounts. Here's the Canon, but it's also available for a variety of other cameras. And if you ever want to experience something different in photography, Lomography is a nice place to take a look at. Thank you very much.